In today's class, you'll begin with a review of the all-important test found in lesson 1.39, which encompasses all 60 of the verbs that we've spent so much time and effort in getting to know up to this point, the most commonly used verbs in any language. Then you'll move into the beginning of lesson 1.40, where you'll see a video. And this video includes a description that I give of the man's typical routine. This man that we've seen in two previous lessons, starting with when he gets up in the morning, will finally finish his day as he goes to bed at night. After you watch this description that I give you of all 60 of the images, and it's not surprising that it's 60 pictures because these pictures each correspond to one of the verbs that you've learned up to this point. After you've watched my description, I'll turn to my brother, who's also present in the video, and I'll ask him to talk about how his life is distinct from the life of this man depicted in these 60 images, these 60 pictures. After the video is completed, you'll be asked to give a description of all 60 of these pictures, going through that man's typical day. And then the next section, and probably the most important section of that lesson, lesson 1.40, is where you'll be asked a series of questions. These questions will be about my brother as to what you learned in listening to him in the video, and how his life is distinct, is different from the man in the 60 pictures whose daily routine we've gone through. And then you'll be asked questions about yourself and how your life is distinct or is maybe the same as the man being described in his typical daily routine. That last activity really is just simulating what would happen in an interaction between yourself and a native speaker of the language that you're learning, because you're being asked to reveal information about yourself as this person poses questions to you. Well, these three activities really, the lesson 1.39 test, the description of the man's daily activities in the course of a typical day, and then your revealing of information about yourself. Really, it's a good image of what the ULET's all about, isn't it? These 39, the verbs found in lesson 1.39, these 60 most common verbs, were presented to you, first of all, as tools that you could use for speech. And they're presented without any recourse to your native language and without any exposure to the written word. And so they were presented to you in the right way to lay that sound oral foundation. And then the second stage, which is where you practice describing, first of all, you listen to me describing, then you practice describing this man's activities in the course of a typical day. That's where the ULET takes the information you've been presented, the concepts presented to you in the right way, and then drills them to help you acquire what I call linguistic reflexes, the ability to come up instantaneously with speech without any recourse to your native language or to written text whatsoever. And then the third step, which is where you interact with the lesson in responding to the questions out loud, orally. That really is what the ULET finally has as its goal at the end, the ability for you to engage in genuine, authentic conversation with a native speaker. Because you first start by laying that oral foundation that allows you to express yourself aloud, orally, and then later, postponing until later the skills of reading and then writing. And so this is kind of a watershed day. It's a day in which you're completing a number of things. You're completing your study of the 60 verbs. You're completing the course, the ability to describe this man's typical day. And this should be a day in which you get a certain amount of gratification as you listen to yourself, providing a lot of description and responding to questions with, I'm sure, with increasing fluency as questions are asked to you about your own particular life. And so, congratulations. And yet, not too much self-congratulation is in order here. We need to get to work. Time for you now to turn to lesson 1.39, and you'll begin there with the activities outlined in the course of today's schedule. I'll see you next class.